So the other takeaway I have is on the topic of hate. I think all humans have the capacity, almost an animalistic craving for hate of the other, the enemy, whether it's individuals like Emmanuel Goldstein or nations like Eurasia and East Asia, which I should say are the two other superstates described in this book that are constantly at war with each other. Again, the fascinating thing about the way this book is written is you don't know if Eurasia or East Asia exists. You really don't know what exists or what is true beyond the local little interaction, local little world of the main character. And that, I think, is the point. When you don't really know, there's no steady footing on which to construct a worldview from which you can have hope about a better future, that longing for a better future. And so this animalistic craving for hate, or the capacity to have hate, especially when we're in crowds, I think is most powerfully illustrated in the 2 minutes of hate, which is practiced by the society. And the quote is, "The horrible thing about the 2 minutes of hate was not that one was obliged to act a part, but that it was impossible to avoid joining in. Within 30 seconds, any pretense was always unnecessary. A hideous ecstasy of fear and vindictiveness, a desire to kill, to torture, to smash faces in with a sledgehammer, seemed to flow through the whole group of people like an electric current, turning one, even against one's will, into a grimacing, screaming lunatic. And yet, the rage that one felt was an abstract, undirected emotion, which could be switched from one object to another like the flame of a blow lamp." That's the point, is you get the crowd together. You get them to hate Goldstein or Eurasia or East Asia. You get them to hate anything. And because that feeling, that drug, that hypnotic, that mass hypnosis that you feel can be directed by the state into any direction. And because you have complete control of history, you can direct it on a day-by-day basis towards any target. And as long as the hate is catalyzed through these kinds of rituals, as long as the hate is there, it can overpower the individualistic feeling of love we have for each other. So that hate is a more animalistic desire. I don't know what to make of it. Of course, it's also important to say that this book, I think I've read many places that it was intended originally by Orwell as a satire, although a satire that has quite a lot of torture at the end and doesn't seem to have much humor. But I think if you read it as a satire, that's the way it's better to understand its relevance in our society today, because a lot of things like 2 Minutes of Hate is almost like a caricature of what hate looks like in a mass gathering. But if you take it as a caricature, it can now reveal you some of the elements that already exist in human nature that are there and that we should be very cautious about. So it reveals the very thing that, if not monitored by ourselves, can result in a slippery slope that leads to destruction of the tribalism, destruction of other groups, and then control of the collective intelligence of our species through a totalitarian state. I think there's elements of this that are just under illustration in social media today. I don't want to overstate it. I think just like comparing things to Hitler, comparing things to 1984, I think is a reach in most cases. But social media does reveal this kind of mass hysteria, this capacity of humans to be outraged, outrage based on tribalism. So we have to understand it. We have to resist giving into it on the individual level. And I do believe we have the responsibility to create technology that helps us resist it, that incentivizes us not to be cruel to each other just because all the people in whatever tribe we define ourselves in are being cruel to a particular person or a particular group.